Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the White Lightning Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Wheeler. I'm joined by another guest today, a good friend of mine, Ben Crawford. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Ready to talk some hoops, baby. Let's do it.
Yep. Ben and I went to high school together 4 years. Diehard Taz fan like myself. You see the banner. I got the Cleveland shirt on today. But no Cleveland today. In the future, definitely want to get Ben on for a Cavs talk. Sadly, there's a lot to talk about how the season ended. But right now, we're going to talk about the teams that are in it and the game that happened last night. The story of the day is Jason Tatum has 33 points in Miami as the Celtics extend this series. Final score 116-99. Here's the recap. So in the first quarter, kind of how first halves have been going, kind of just stalemate back and forth. He'd go 4 for 10 from 3 in the first. A lot of Celtics turnovers in the first quarter. He'd have 29-23 lead at the end of the first. Then in the second quarter, again, Celtics are staying around. They're keeping it competitive, unlike last game. Caleb Martin has a great second quarter. Gabe Vincent has a great second quarter. Caleb has 14 at half. He's 6 for 6. Vincent has 11. And the Heat are up 56-50 at half. And the TNT crew and everybody at home kind of saying the same thing about Tatum and Brown. Tatum has 8 points at half and 6 shots in an elimination game. And we're like, here we go. This is getting bad. Brown and Tatum also have, Brown and Tatum have more turnovers than assists this series. They mentioned that at halftime. Brown's not assertive, and he'd have to lead at halftime. Now, Chuck said this, and I agree. The game starts in the third quarter. And halfway through the third, you can either determine whether the team that's down is going to fight back or is the game over. Boston starts the third quarter on a 18-0 run. The Heat have 0 points for 5 minutes. And the Heat, that are very good about keeping control of the ball, have 10 turnovers in the third. And Boston outscores Miami 38-23. And the Celtics were 7 for 12 from 3 in the third quarter. And they kind of busted that thing open. And then after the third quarter, Miami can't really gain any traction from there. And the Heat end up losing. And the Celtics win game 4, 116-99. After a third quarter that literally saved their season, they end the quarter up 9. And Heat can't get really anything going. And they end up losing. Now, my takeaways was this. And Ben, feel free to interject whenever you feel like I'm saying something wrong or right. I'm watching the Heat in the second half last night. And I say, okay, here's the Heat that were there for 82 games this season. This is the Heat I know. I couldn't find them for a month and a half. This was an incredible run. Okay, here they are again. Here they are. Vincent 1 for 4 from 3. Duncan Robinson 0 for 4, Strus 1 for 5, Butler 1 for 4, all from 3. I'm saying, okay, here they are. And the same thing I could say for the Celtics in the second half. Okay, here we are again. I know these guys. Tatum has 25 points in the second half. There's my first team All-NBA player. He heard me talking smack. He did. He watched the episode when I was questioning his greatness, and he responded. And I thought a very interesting stat that I found were when Celtics shoot 40% from 3 this season, they're 36-2. They shot 40% from 3 last night. And I'm saying, okay, this is the team I know. But that's what I took from it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think you hit on it with the 3-point percentage, but I think what goes even deeper than that is they took 45 threes. Yeah. I mean, this is the Celtics that we see throughout the regular season. They've got good shooters on the wings and Tatum and Brown. They're going to put up a lot of threes. And I think earlier in the series, maybe they just weren't making them. Maybe this is just a fluke. I know you're talking about these are the teams that we thought we'd see in the playoffs, but also you got to go by the playoffs as well. And so far the Heat have been, somewhat carried by Jimmy Butler, but also shout out to the role guys, like you said, who honestly didn't show up last night, which may be surprising if you just look at the past games where they've been balling out,
Yeah,
the Heat have, it seems like 15 3-and-D wings that they can just pull out of anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it does seem like it was about time that they kind of had an off night. I know a lot of people are talking about, the Celtics are better. The Celtics are a team that could come down from a 3-0 lead, be the first one. I still trust Jimmy Butler in the Heat. I think that he has, I hate to be like this because I hate this argument because it's like not tangible, but he has something inside of him that just makes him different than everybody,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is refreshing to see Tatum play like to the ceiling that we all know he can reach. And I think honestly, I mean, if he continues to do that for, next game, I mean, if he's playing to his ceiling, that's always going to put them in a position to win. I just hate when he gets into the pattern of taking the flashy but contested mid-rangers
Yep.
that
Yep. Yep.
he
Bro, I want to
watched
be
the
Kobe.
Kobe highlights from 2009.
We literally just said the same thing. You beat me
Yeah.
to it. Bro wants to be Kobe. Yeah.
So I think it was maybe a little bit of a sign of that the Heat should be maybe a little bit on edge, but I mean the 3-1 lead, I would still feel like the Heat are in the driver's seat, and I would expect Jimmy Butler to throw the team on his back, even if it's not next game, in game 6 and take home the series and move on to the finals.
And I agree. I was kind of chopping it up with my buddies today. And here's my thing though that I was saying about the Heat is that all playoffs, everything's lining up perfectly for them. You get a battle, you get to beat up Giannis for a couple games. You take advantage of that. You play the Knicks. Julius Randle doesn't care about basketball. Take advantage of that,
All of a
right?
sudden, yeah.
All of a sudden, right? Now Boston. Tatum doesn't have a point in the fourth quarter until last night. Jaylen Brown, who I discovered over the past couple of days, has an elbow injury. He hurt it on Bam's knee. He looks weird. Okay. Okay. Everything lined up for them perfectly. In the second half, it was not. And here is what I'm saying today. Here's what I'm saying today. I woke up thinking that Boston have an 100% chance of winning the game tomorrow night. I think he'd have a 0% chance to win tomorrow night. That might be a hot take. But let's just say Boston blows them out tomorrow and he go back on their home turf game 6. That's a must win. I don't know. And that's what I said. I said, I don't know. If Boston tomorrow night blows them out of the water, look how they did in the second half. Game 6 gets really interesting. Really interesting. And I think Boston, found something in that second half. They're finally seeing shots going. And that's what I thought. I'm like this. I think they might got something. I don't know. I do not know.
I mean, I think they have the ability to. I think we hear 3-0 lead and now 3-1 lead, and we're like, oh, that's insurmountable. But then if you look like you're doing at the game by game, and it's like, well, I mean, I would take the Celtics over the Heat probably on a given day. And it's like, well, okay, they're going to play them at home, and then on the road it gets sketchy. And then guess what? When it comes back, they would be at home. So
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't it doesn't seem that crazy now. I think
Right.
obviously you have to win when you're down 3-0, but I mean, cutting it to 3-1, it just makes it so much more feasible when you're already the higher seed,
Right.
because then you have the benefit of the home court in a potential game 7.
Right.
I still think though that although Jaylen Brown didn't play bad last night, he had 17 points on 7 of 16.
Yeah.
You just need, I think you need more. You need more assertiveness. I was happy to see the assertiveness from Tatum last night because you know what kind of player he can be. He
Right.
has all the physical attributes. He's a smart player. He can score, 3-level scorer at the rim, mid range, and from 3. Um, and I just think getting it on the night to night from not just one of them. Here it was just one of them that put up a big performance with Tatum having 33. But I think going forward against a team like Miami, you're going to need both of those guys to be the leaders in scoring on every night that you play, because you can't have an off night anymore. You've already lost 3. Your back's against the wall. I mean, this is kind of where it comes down to it. And I think it's going to be interesting because it's going to kind of show what they're made of a little. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of even if they win the finals, there's going to be a lot of offseason conversations with this group.
Right. Right.
A lot of people talking about you can't, maybe it's not going to work with having two wings that have a little bit of a similar play style and a little bit of a similar, like archetype. And I personally think it can work. It's just about them being consistent about it because I think they're both great players, and I would just love to see them push Miami a little bit like they did last night.
100%. And I totally agree. I want to go to your Tatum point about I love seeing him get downhill. We saw it in game 3. We saw it in game 2. Game 3 was a blowout. They were like, okay, let's just start chucking up threes because that's who we are. Even though Tatum and Brown combined for 114 from 3 last game. Okay, let's just keep on chucking them up. Game 2, same thing. Okay, that's what we're good at. Let's chuck them up. An incredible stat this series to back my evidence is Jason Tatum up to last night had 1 free throw in 2 games. Jaylen Brown has 5 free throw attempts the whole series up to last night, which is to your point. Let's be aggressive. Let's get downhill. Tatum, let's not settle for step back fading threes no more. You're better than that. So, but you're absolutely right where it's like, in comparison to the Lakers, you're like, okay, if you win this game 4, you're 3-1, but you're going back to Denver. We're back to Boston now. And again, I think Heat in 6 still. But you cannot tell me that this game 5 did not just get a lot more interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And this game 6, if gets really, really, really interesting. Along with Vincent, he rolled his ankle last night, and he took a flight last night. That's pressure. You know what I mean? That hurts. Yeah. And I just think we're kind of I think it's interesting. I don't think they can come back from 3-0 personally, but it's more interesting than people think it is.
Yeah, and I think you're right that they are probably going to win next game, but just because, they're back at home, a little bit of momentum. I especially love, you always hear in the NBA guys talking about how easy it is to talk shit when you're up. They weren't talking shit when they were down, but they were saying, don't let us win 1 game. And I love that attitude.
Right.
And guess what? They won 1 game. Now they're going back to their home. They're going back to Boston in front of the home fans. They got the momentum. You could tell even before this game, they had like a chip on their shoulder just by putting out all those tweets and whatnot. So it's like, okay, you win this. Yeah, you still got to win 2 more if you're Boston. But guess what? You have all the momentum. The Heat are starting to get that little seed doubt in their head.
Right.
It's like, are we going to be the first ones to do this, to blow a 3-0 lead? And I don't know. I think it makes for a great narrative. I think as a fan, you would honestly love to see the Celtics win tomorrow, just to see the drama.
Right.
But I totally agree with your first point. I mean, Tatum and Brown have every physical attribute that you would want in a wing player, in wing players, and them not getting downhill, them knocking the free throw line. They don't even need to foul bait. They could be ethical. They can be ethical.
Right.
And still get to the free throw line 5-6 times a game each, at a minimum. And I think some of it is maybe they just feel comfortable taking those tough shots, the jumpers, but in the playoffs, when shit hits the fan, man, you got to get to the rim. And I would love to see more downhill, more getting teams in the bonus early. And I think you're right. They kind of found something there. And I think moving forward with that kind of formula, who knows what can happen. So
and totally agree. And I want to give credit to the Heat too. I mean, even, last night, a loss it's bad, but 2 things that I found to be incredible to me was Bam Adebayo, first 2 games, getting downhill aggressive. He averaged in the first 2 games 15 shots a game. Okay, last 2 games he's averaging 6 shots a game. That's a huge drop off. Huge. He is the X factor for tomorrow night. Do we see an aggressive Bam? Can he get downhill? And another incredible stat to me is Caleb Martin is averaging 19.1 points per game off the bench. That's second off the bench all time. All time. He goes a little cold last night in the second quarter, or the second half. He goes 0 for 3 from 3 in the second half. So it's it's one of those things where if you want to win game 5, I know we were talking about Boston. Bam's got to be aggressive. Caleb Martin's going to have to go back to how he's been playing. Vincent's got to be, he's still shooting great this series. He's got to go back. So I think it's really interesting. And I told you already, I got Boston tomorrow night. I
Yeah.
do. I do.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I love your point about Bam because he's another guy who I think can dominate in this series at his best, but at the floor, I mean, he's your second best player if you're the Heat. Tyler
Right.
Hero's out. Jimmy, I mean, you can't knock anything he's doing. He's had an amazing
Incredible.
postseason.
Incredible.
And it's
Historic.
like you just need a little bit more support than what did Bam get last night? 10 points on 7 shots.
Right.
I mean, you're the second best player on the floor. And it might be a cold night for some of your like filler role player guys. And that's when you got to kind of take over. I mean, I don't know if it's just touches or getting to the spots or what the deal is, but I think that's definitely something they're going to notice. I mean, that kind of pops off the page. And I think that Jimmy is going to want him to be aggressive too, because it takes a big burden off of him. He doesn't feel like he has to put up 40 a night.
Right. It's so weird because it's like you watch Bam in the first 2 games, you're like, yeah, after AD, Jokic, and Embiid, it's him. Like he's the fourth. He's the top 5 big. And then the last 2 nights, you're like, this guy was an all-star. He's not even being aggressive. So I think that's a big development too, is what happens with that. But that series is interesting. I'm excited to talk about that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to talk about a heartbreaker for me personally.
Same here.
It happened on Monday night. Listen. Everybody, I had my previous guest, Luke, saying, dang, you're really rooting for the Lakers. Once the Cavs season is over, I think Cavs fans start rooting for the Lakers. I think that's just fair. I just think that's me. I just think that's how it goes. Once the Cavs season is over, we're rooting for the Lakers. I don't know. I don't know.
That
Maybe shame on me.
Real quick,
That's what I think. So,
yeah.
So here's the recap of the game that happened on Monday night.
Give it to me.
Story of the day is Nuggets sweep the Lakers 113-111. It comes down to the wire. Here's the quick recap. Again, back and forth first quarter. We're seeing a lot more aggressive LeBron now. That's the first thing I think everybody notices is like, okay, yeah, he don't want to get swept tonight. He don't want to get swept at all, bro. He's attacking down, going to the basket. Lakers have the lead at the end of the first, 34-28. Second quarter, have another great quarter. They have 39. We see a Tristan Thompson sighting. He actually plays good minutes for them. Didn't score that much, but he played good minutes for them. LeBron keeps on attacking. He's getting downhill. He finishes with 31 at halftime. Jokic has a quiet first half. Gordon's actually probably played the best for them in that first half. Lakers are up 73-58 at halftime. They go 7 for 11 from 3 in the first half and shoot 56% from the field. And again, like I said last about the Heat Celtics, the game starts in the third quarter. So what do the Nuggets do? They go on a 22-4 run to start the third. And to make matters worse, Lakers have a 16-point third quarter. They get outscored by 20 in the third quarter. Nuggets have 36. They have 16. And the Nuggets take the lead. At the end of the third, it's 94-89. LeBron's not getting downhill in the third. Obviously, Mike Malone made great adjustments. They're down. Then in the fourth quarter, Lakers start, it's going back and forth. Last 30 seconds of the game, it's all tied up. 111. Lakers have a chance to take the lead. I want to say this to kind of stop my recap because this is what really bothered me. 30 seconds left. Jokic gets in foul trouble. He has 5 fouls. LeBron, instead of getting downhill, passes it to Dennis, and then Dennis, it goes out of bounds. I say this because it's a key play because then there's 3 seconds left on the shot clock. LeBron chucks up a really bad shot in the corner, hits backboard. Jokic goes down the other way with the fresh shot clock, and I believe makes the layup. I think he either made 2 free throws or made the layup. Anyways, he made the last 2 points. Then it's 113-111. Lakers called timeout with 4 seconds left. Everybody in the entire arena know who the ball was going to. LeBron gets blocked at the rim. Series is over. 113-111 Nuggets. And I think everybody the next day on Tuesday morning was what happens with Anthony Davis. LeBron says he's questioning his retirement. I'm going to get into that later. But it bothered me is that no one talked about uh, the repeated blown leads this series. Every game for the Lakers was a blown lead or a blown chance. I can do the quick rundown for that. Game 1, you're only down by 3. LeBron shoots a step back fading 3 on Jamal Murray. Game 2, you're up by 11 halfway through the second quarter or the third quarter. You're up 11 halfway through the third quarter. Then halfway through the fourth quarter, you're down 11. Between that stretch, it's 39 points to 16. Nuggets scored 39. Lakers scored 16 in that stretch. Game 3, tied game. Nuggets going at, we saw it last night. They had a 15-point lead at half. Game 3, the Nuggets go on an 8-0 run to end the fourth. That's what bothers me. And I want you to interject because in the history books, this will just be, Nuggets swept them. 10 years from now, you're going to just say, yeah, they swept them. But in reality, every game this series ended within single digits. And I just think it bothers me because I just think that this will go down in history as a sweep. And I thought it could have been a lot closer than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a series that I wouldn't have been surprised if the Nuggets won. I probably would have picked them, but at least in 6. And I mean, you're right. It felt like the Lakers played them well. I really felt like after game 1 that the Lakers should have won the game. And I said, well, you know what? The Nuggets shot lights out in game 1. The Lakers were on the road. And this is a great sign for the Lakers because you know what? They realize that they can beat this team. And I think that they could have every game. I mean, I hate to say it was a close sweep.
Right.
It was.
I know, man. I know.
I mean, you got to give respect to the Nuggets. I think they've been super surprisingly for, being one of the best teams in the league, underrated. You hear people on ESPN acting like it's their first time watching Jokic all year and seeing what he can do. But I just think there was times throughout the series, like you said, where it's like the Lakers are up, they have the lead, and then the Nuggets go on a run and they never look back. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm thinking one thing, and I hate to say this because I love him, but where is LeBron? Because not even that he needs to be scoring or anything, but it's like when a team's going on a run, you're not only probably the best player on the team, you are the veteran of the team. You're one of the greatest players in NBA history. Get the ball in your hands, calm everybody down, get a bucket, or just get a good look, get fouled, get something to break up the momentum. And I just felt like sometimes, I don't know if it was his injury or certain looks that they were trying to get with matchups, but it felt like the Nuggets would be on one of these runs. And it felt like the ball is in Dennis Schroeder's hands or D'Lo's hands, who did not have a good series by any means. And
I will be talking about him a little bit.
Yeah, and deserves much of the blame for this. And I know that they have great guys. It was a fun team that came together late in the season. They have great guys like Rui. And I do think D'Lo generally had been good. And guys that are kind of fun stories, getting a second chance in their career maybe, or a guy like Jared Vanderbilt, who you're not really sure what he is, but he comes out and I think his stock has gone up.
Plays really good D for you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to play good D, hustle. But when you're in those moments, the best player on the floor has to have the ball and he has to calm down the team and be the leader. And I was just surprised that it wasn't like that.
And you're right. It bothers me because it's like you see on Twitter and the media where it's like there's the one extreme where like this is a stain on LeBron's career. No, not really. But then you see the other side and they're saying LeBron had an excellent series. Not really. Like, again, like what you said, game 1, you're down by 3. LeBron's chucking up threes and he's been off all game and you resort to 83 pointers. Game 2, I know I keep on saying it because this is this is the series right here. Game 2, third quarter, you're up 11. Then in the fourth quarter, at the same period, you're down 11. Why is that? LeBron's 0 for 4 during that stretch. Game 3, he's a little cold. So I totally agree with you. It's like, I think it's a little ridiculous where it's a stain on his career because, like what you said, it was a great story. And if Kevin Durant or Giannis did this, everybody in the media would be like, man, what a great turnaround. But since it's LeBron, it's, this is a stain on his career. How did you get swept? I mean, this was a 7th seed. They were 2-10 to start the season. It was a mess again. And for this team to go on as far as they did, it's impressive, but it's kind of sad because it had to end like this.
They had
But
potential, I really think, to get to the finals and even win a ring. I do agree totally with the assessment on LeBron and how it affects his legacy because, to be honest, he is leading a team that started the year 2-10 to the conference finals. And yeah, they got swept, but he's 38 years old. And I like this team. They're fun, but I do think the Nuggets are more talented from top to bottom of the roster.
for sure, absolutely, man.
And
Absolutely.
I do think that a lot of people kind of underrated the Nuggets, like I said. I just think you're getting great play, obviously, out of Jokic and Jamal Murray, but I love their role players stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
KCP to me is the ultimate role player, 3-and-D wing. He's going to go out there and you're going to get a 40% shooter. He's going to play great defense. He's going to be cool under pressure. Those are the kind of guys that you need on a championship team. And although the Lakers had some fun role guys, a guy like KCP, who, formerly a Laker, is nice to have again, just for when things start hitting the fan. You have a guy who can help calm things down, hit a shot, get a
Yeah,
steal.
he's plug in. He can play on any team in the NBA. Yeah, every
Exactly.
team in the NBA needs KCP. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And just like and I hate to be, I kind of feel like I'm being media right now. We're just talking about the Lakers. But then after I got settled down, I said, okay, so then why did the Lakers lose? Like what you said. The Nuggets are a better team, like what you said. They're better coached. I think Darvin Ham had a good recovery, but I'd still take Mike Malone. I mean, from Darvin Ham, where he was October to May, he definitely got better. I'd still
Sure.
take Mike Malone.
Oh,
And
yes.
like what you said with the role players, and I got some stats for you. They had 6 players in double figures. They had 6 players this series averaging double figures compared to the Lakers too. Jamal Murray averaging 32 points on 50% shooting. Yeah. Jokic averaging 27, 14, 11. Yeah. MPJ is 15 points and 42% from three. KCP is 15 and 40%. Gordon gave you 12 points per game. But, so they had 6 players in double figures. Their role players outplayed the Lakers role players. They're better coached. And I think what bothered me the most was I said this last episode was, okay, Jamal Murray and Jokic versus AD and LeBron duo, the Lakers got to win that. Well, not only did they
Yes.
not win that, but AD, I know I said last episode that AD was probably the 3rd best player in this series. I think it's flip flop. I think the best 2 players in the series were on the same team. It's Jokic and Murray, and that's just not what you expected either. But completely hats off to the Nuggets. They earned this series. They earned this series, well and deserved. But again, in the history books, like what we said, this will go down as Lakers got swept. But that's what was sad to me, was that I think it was very winnable. Oddly
Yeah.
enough.
And I totally agree. And I do think, not to make an excuse, I think LeBron's ankle injury has been way more under the radar than I think it's affecting him a lot more than people realize. And I think you
Yeah.
can just see, you look at the beginning of the season, his explosiveness, even just his want to get to the rim was awesome. And I think you saw it last night. I think LeBron played great last night. Like you said, the rest of the series, I remember, I forget which game it was after. I mean, he almost puts up a triple double on 25 points. And I'm like, yeah, the stats are good, but watching the game, you're like, you need more from him. You need more. And I think it's a testament that he's competing at this level at 38 years old, coming off of an injury like that, where he kind of, had to find the right doctor to give him the
Right. Right.
operation he needed in treatment.
Yeah.
And it's a little
Yeah.
sus, and you're not
Right.
sure. So I don't want to hold him to too crazy of a standard, but also I think this was a winnable series. AD needs to be more consistent. When he's at his best, he can be defensive player of the year candidate. I think he can be an MVP candidate. And it's just surprising because another guy, like we said with Tatum, who has all the physical tools you need for his position, super skilled, and you just like to see him put it into action night to night, especially in the playoffs. I get the
Right.
regular season. You're in Utah on a back to
Yeah.
back, and you don't want to go play hard, whatever.
Right.
But when it's a do or die game, you know, need more. But overall, I think there's again, like we said, the Celtics. There's going to be a ton of questions for this Lakers team in the postseason or in the off season. I'll be really interested to see how it sorts out, but it's
Yeah.
going to be something to keep your eye on.
Yeah. And I want to get into that because, like what you said, like with LeBron, I'd like to see him play a better series. But he had 40 points the last game. So for the people that were saying, you see the reports from the reporters where they're saying, I think his dominance is over and his days being as dominant as he was over. And he just had 40 points. So and he was the best player on the floor last night or on Monday
Right.
night. So I don't think it's over. But I love how you talked about AD because I want to talk about AD. I want to talk about the other Lakers guys. I should have jumped Luke for this. Luke said we're finally seeing a consistent AD. And from the box score, like what you said about LeBron, AD averaged 26 points per game and 14 rebounds this series, or 27 and 14. And you look at the box score and you're like, yeah, okay, good series. But dude, it's like, like what you said, like here's the last 8 games. He has 21 and 28. Good. Then he has 18. Then he has 40 in game 1. Then he has 17. Then he has 3 games of 20. Then he has 11. It's like, and about the future, like what you said, this is perfect to get into. Do we want to play this game again with him, with AD, where you're like, okay, he's going to sit 20 games. He's going to sit 25 games. Okay, well then in the playoffs he's an incredible defender that does not get talked about enough. He's probably the best interior defender in basketball. But on the offensive end, it's like what I said. You're getting 20, then 10, then 30, then 15. And he's sitting 20, 30 games. Then LeBron. I love LeBron. I still think he could be the best player on a championship team. I'll still say that. He's going to miss probably 25 games next year. That's just who he is now. So like what you said, it's so interesting about their future. And to be honest, I don't think anything is out of the cards for them. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I don't know.
I totally agree. That's why it's like, I mean, we'll see what Rob Pelinka will do, but I mean, I think the biggest question mark is, I mean, you have a 38, 39-year-old LeBron James, and he's coming off like I just said, that injury, which I think is more significant than people realize. And you're kind of trying to figure out, what do we do with him? Are we still in win now mode?
Right.
Do you think that this team could have won a championship? I think if you think that, then maybe you run it back. Maybe you reload with the role players, get some new guys. Maybe you try and make a splash trade, consolidate some of those guys that you got. But if not, I mean, they do have a lot of assets with trading LeBron, because even though
I
he's in year
know you
4,
hate to have that convo, but I mean,
I know, and maybe he waives his no trade clause. Anthony Davis, I mean, you kind of feel like you're selling if you were to trade him for less than his actual value, because his ceiling is one of the best defenders in the league and a
right,
beast
right, yes,
on
yeah,
offense. And you just know that you haven't gotten that consistently enough, so it's going to lower his trade value. So you'd hate to trade him, and then all of a sudden he's out there dominating every night.
yeah, yeah.
So
And I totally agree. It's like the best way I put it is I woke up on Tuesday morning and I'm like, I don't think anything is out of the cards. Ben, if you just said I think the Lakers should go in a complete rebuild, I'm like, yeah, I could kind of justify it. You could probably get good pieces for AD. You're interested to see what LeBron does. Now, if you told me, I think if you're going to get 2 more years out of LeBron, you could try to go compete again. Okay, I agree. And if you said, let's go try to get Kyrie, let's try to make it work. Okay, I could agree. That's what's so weird. And Colin Cowherd actually hinted at this, is that, like, if the Nuggets lose in the finals, they're running it back. If the Heat lose in the finals, you're running it back. But we see similarities with the Lakers and the Celtics where it's like, is anything out of the cards, And it's like another really sad thing was, like what you said earlier, was D'Angelo Russell. is you watch him in the regular season, you're like, okay, perfect. This is the perfect point guard LeBron needs. He can play off ball. He has a good three-pointer. He runs the offense well. And to his respect, he has a great Warriors and Grizzlies series. Warriors, he averages 14 points a game. Grizzlies, he averages 16 points per game. But this last series might be unforgivable. I mean, it was 6 points per game and 13% from three. Do you run him back? It's so interesting. And I actually don't think there's a wrong answer. Totally honest.
I agree. I think there will be a wrong answer if we look back and something doesn't work out, but that's the only way.
Yeah.
I mean, D'Lo, I agree. It's another guy like you hate to trade him because everybody has that taste in their mouth of this last series. I mean, in a closeout game, you're down 3-0 in the conference finals. Your team needs you the most. His stat line in 15 minutes, he scores 4 points on 2 of 4 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3, 2 rebounds and 2 assists. That is, I mean, I could go out there and do that. I swear to God. You know what I mean? Like, I know D'Angelo Russell is better than me. I
Right.
watched him at Ohio State. I
Right.
know that this guy can play. I watched him in the first 2 rounds.
Right. Right.
And I mean, it takes a village to win a series, especially in the conference finals. And they obviously didn't have that. I don't know if you run it back. I know somebody, maybe it was Troy Brown or
But Blake
Malik
Beasley,
Beasley.
I know what you're going to say. Blake Beasley.
Yeah, he said, give us a full training camp and preseason to get acclimated. And by this time next year, we're not losing a game in the playoffs. And it's like, maybe,
Right. I could hear that out. They never got a full year together.
but is that enough for the management to bet on? If I'm the management, I think maybe you could make an argument that maybe they just had a good postseason and you still need another splash play like a Kyrie Irving,
Right.
who I
Right.
actually would be very interested to see on this team. I know
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of concerns with his mentality and off the court issues that just detract from his skill and performance in basketball. But I would personally love to see him, LeBron, AD on the court together in the same uniform. I think it would be great balance on the floor. Um, it would be fun. It would be showtime. It'd be good for
Yeah,
the
it would. It would.
NBA. And I think you do that, and all of a sudden the Lakers have some pretty short odds to make it out of the West. So if they could swing that, then I say go for it. If not, I'm kind of leaning towards you start to maybe fish for what's out there, and if you can't get a splash trade, maybe blow it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough position.
Like what you said, like Kyrie, like probably that perfect guard you're looking for. But again, he's got baggage. Like I kind of ripped on AD and LeBron for sitting 30 games. No, he's sitting 20. And I love
Oh
Kyrie.
yeah,
I have a poster of him in my room still, but it's
yeah,
just the game with him. So
yeah.
it's so interesting. And it just feels like the last 3 years with this Lakers team, it's just been like completely exhausting. I
Mhm.
saw a reporter today said he was interviewing LeBron on game 11 of the season, and it felt like 92. And he was like, yeah, it feels like game 92. And it just kind of
Yeah,
felt like how the last 3 years have been, like Suns, AD gets hurt, shocker, then you do the Russ trade. And the Russ stands, are probably all up on Twitter saying, oh, the Lakers could have really used him right now, and oh, he's probably better than D'Lo. Okay, you can say that all you want. It's a horrible fit, and it was a horrible year and a half with him, and so it's just so interesting. And my main conclusion is that there's not a wrong answer, really not.
hmm
If you wake up and say let's go trade AD, okay. If you want to go say let's go try to make one more shot and let's try to go get Kyrie, I say okay. So something really
yeah.
interesting to monitor, man. Something really interesting.
I've got a question for you on this. Thoughts on LeBron saying he doesn't know his future in basketball?
Yeah, I actually really like you said that. First off, genius move by him
I
because
mean, that is a vet right there. That is a veteran move.
genius move by him. Uh, you notice how you're not talking about how they got swept anymore?
Exactly.
You're talking about his retirement. Genius move by him. And this is like the media falling for it again, where it's like, oh, he's really questioning his future. He did it in Cleveland the first time. Not retirement, but just future with the team. Did it the first time. Did it in Miami. Did it in Cleveland the third time or the second time back. Like, and here's my thing too. This is a great point. I think LeBron's due 40 then $50 million, and he's always been about the money. You really think he's gonna sit out and reject $90 million? I'm gonna go with no on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with no. So it's funny. Like the main point is like just with the retirement, you're no longer talking about him getting swept. That is genius. And LeBron's a money dude. There's money out there for the rest of these 2 years for the Lakers. He ain't turning that down. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think he's going to retire. I think exactly what you said. He said that because it takes the whole narrative away from him getting swept, and I love it. I think it's
Genius.
great tactics.
It's a chess
it's
move.
funny.
It's really a chess move.
But I do think he wants to play with Bronny, which is a whole other can of worms that we don't have to get into. But
right.
So I would say he's going to play next year, and then maybe see, okay, is Bronny for sure getting drafted? And if he is, then I bet he plays the next year too. And I bet he figures out a way to get on Bronny's team, which would be cool. It would be cool. But I just don't know if that'll be in LA. I saw that the Knicks have short odds to get him.
Yeah.
The 76ers. I mean, you can imagine LeBron on any of those teams, and it's like, wow, like all of a sudden they're legit contenders.
Legit. Right.
Not just like, okay, we have Embiid, who's MVP.
Yeah.
Contenders.
Right.
And I say
we'll
that
talk about
because
that in a later episode, So
yeah.
Right.
But it'll be interesting. I think that I personally would love to see him play at least a couple more years. I would love to see him get another ring, but who knows? I mean, right now it's an interesting NBA Finals or apparent NBA Finals.
Yeah.
If the Heat can pull it off, but I would be happy with Heat Nuggets. Get either Jokic or Butler their ring and get out of there. I care less about the Celtics. They got more time. They're younger.
Right. And we actually talked about this off camera. The Celtics losing, and I mentioned this in a previous podcast episode. If they lose, they'd run it back. In the finals, if they lose, they'd run it back. Nuggets, if they lose, they'd run it back. If Celtics lose this, they are not running it back. I don't have anybody inside the NBA. I have zero sources inside the NBA. They are not running it back. I'm telling you that. They will not run it back. They won't.
No, Jaylen Brown will be in a Mavericks uniform or some Western Conference team.
Something crazy. Yeah.
He'll be a Rocket.
Drama. It's drama. Yeah. That rumor is bizarre to me, but yeah, it's just that's what I like the intensity. I like the drama. There's drama if the Celtics lose. But I want to talk about this real quick.
Yeah.
Talking about odds about where LeBron's going to land. Do me a favor, viewers, okay? Go look at the odds that you can bet on for the Celtics to win this series. It's $10 to win $23.
Wow.
To complete the best comeback in NBA history is $20 off 10? Dude, and that's what we talked about earlier, is that Vegas doesn't even know about this. If Celtics blow them out tomorrow, woo! So what do you think? Do you think they win tomorrow?
I think they win. And I hope they win, even though I hope the Heat win the series. Just because, I would love to see a game 6 be, it's like one step at a time. It's like, okay, you give up one game. All right, you're still up 3-1. You give up 2 games. All right. Once you give up 2 games,
man.
The next game is, think about when the Cavs came back down 3-1.
Right.
I think the Celtics can do it. I think they can win the series. I know it's a hot take. I don't know if they will, but I think they have the talent to do it. I like the chip they have on their shoulder. I think if they play aggressively and don't back down and settle, I think they can do it. And
I know, man. I had that same feeling today. It's like, and what my point was with them is talent level, off pure talent. It's not close. The Celtics are more talented than the Heat. They have a better bench on paper, obviously, talent-wise. So, like, if any team could do it, no offense, Houston, like, this ain't the Rockets. Like Jason Tatum was 4th in MVP voting. He was first-team All-NBA. Brown was second-team All-NBA. You know, like, this ain't Brogdon is 6th man of the year. If anybody could do it, it would be them. So, even this Game 5 tomorrow is incredibly interesting. So,
I agree.
I'm really excited about that. I am really excited about that. But
totally agree. But you got it.
You go. What do you think?
I was just gonna say, one little thing about the Celtics that I saw I thought was interesting was that some insider said that this is a team that seems sick of faking that they like each other. Did you see that?
Yeah. Here's my thing, and this is so funny to me. After the Celtics won last night, you didn't hear anything about that. And after the Celtics won last night, and I said this last episode, we are so quick to say they have the wrong coach. We are so quick to jump the gun. But then Tatum and Brown finally played well last night. Okay. Crickets about his security. You know what I mean? So it's like it, and that's what Skip said this today on his show. I love it. The NBA is the only tournament in professional sports where the narratives can literally go 360, like literally 360 degrees. And I said in last episode, I said, you know, there's guys that are like, oh, well, they're losing this because Joe Mazzulla's out coached. Tatum didn't make a shot in the fourth quarter until last night. And, you know, Jaylen Brown shooting 10% from 3.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson, I don't know, can fix that. Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like
a players' league. It's a players' league.
Right.
I think that's the reason why after so many playoffs, you'll see a team that has either that year, the year before, or 2 years before, a coach of the year get fired. You know, and it's like, it's just crazy, and it is totally media spinning the narrative. I do think, obviously, coaches are important in basketball, but it is a players' league. This isn't the NFL.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, a coach can't do much about if you have Jaylen Brown shooting 10% from 3 and putting up 5 shots a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
yeah, like there's no, and you know, my dad actually made a good point. Jaylen Brown shooting 10% from 3 probably messes up Joe Mazzulla's game plan. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Where it's like, so yeah, and that's my thing is like, and like what you said, if you know the players are sick of each other. If anything of that were to be true, I would think Jaylen Brown. He's had some very weird like press conferences. Like he had 40 points against the Spurs, and somebody asked him like, "How'd you feel like the home crowd was like backing you tonight?" He was like, "Yeah, it's whatever." And then somebody asked him about, you know, do you like Grant Williams poking that Jimmy Butler bear? And he's like, next question. So you know, like he's a little he's thinking about a bag. You can tell he's thinking about a bag.
Yeah.
He's you know he's
thinking about getting out. I think too because. I don't know. Maybe you're starting to get that seed of doubt where it's like maybe this whole experiment of our team is over, you know. But who knows? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And I will say that it's something very interesting to follow. It really is. And I think tomorrow night gets really interesting. But man, I think we touched on everything, man. I think I got everything off my chest. I really did.
Here, man.
I want to end every episode, and I think to myself, did I say everything I wanted to say? And I say, yeah. And I want to say this. I want to end with this. D'Lo gets no more keys to the city. I think Darvin Ham is cooked a little bit. There's that blown leads is suspect, but I thought I got everything off my chest, man. I really did. So Ben, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Of course, brother. Looking forward to being on here more soon.
Yes. We are definitely going to do a Cavs talk.
Yes, sir.
We got a little break here after the Celtics Heat series is over. It's about 10 days. I'm going to get into the NFL. You're a Steelers fan, sadly. We're going to talk about the Steelers. Definitely going to talk about the Cavs. But I'm excited to get into new topics and the new teams, and I'm excited. But, Ben, thank you again, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, brother.
That is episode 7 of the White Lightning Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Wheeler. Thank you very much. Have a good night.